All right, hello everybody. I am sure most of you are already familiar with me. My name is Miss Fowler, and I am one of your counselors here at the high school. So today we just wanted to organize a little lesson to go over some more kind of career planning tips and some more tips just to kind of get an idea of what you'd like to do after high school here. So I know that a lot of the times, or at least for me, this was my personal experience when I was in high school, and what a lot of my friends did too. And it was, pick a major, a topic that you're interested in, or just pick a job field and just go into that, and then you figure it out when you get the job or when you graduate, and you build your life around that. And that doesn't work for everybody. So I'm kind of doing an exercise today just to kind of get you to use some creativity and to maybe imagine in a different way what you'd like your future life to look like, because it's a very intimidating idea. What's life going to look like for me after high school? What kind of life do I want to have for myself? And so usually, we're going point A to point B to point C. You graduate high school, you go get a job right away maybe, or you go and you enroll in a college, and then you get a job from that college and you move to the town, and it goes in a linear fashion. But in this exercise today, I want everybody to try to take a minute, try to imagine, what do you want your life to look like in the future? Don't think about specific job at the moment or anything. Just kind of imagine what kind of lifestyle you would like to be living, and try to be as realistic as possible. But what would make you happy in 5 years, 10 years, depending on how quickly you want to move into your full occupational role? And just try to take into account, what are some things that you value? What are some things that mean a lot to you in your daily routine? Being around friends, being around family, being in a rural area, an urban area. What would your life optimally maybe look like in the future? So, after kind of taking a minute to try to think about what you'd like your life to look like, I'm going to make this exercise a little clearer by giving an example of what my own journey of kind of backwards thinking to figure out that school counseling was a good position for me. Because thinking in a linear fashion, it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me at all. I didn't know what I wanted to go to college for after high school. I felt like I just couldn't find anything that fit. And so I took a lot of years off. And eventually, I used this technique of thinking backwards to piece together a career that would really work for me. So I'm just going to write down a few examples here. So for me, I wanted to think about what area I would like to live in. And I had to think about what kind of a work schedule I would want. And let me see, what are also the most important parts of my journey here? I had to think about how much education I was willing to get. And I had to think about what kind of an environment, what kind of other people I would want to work with. So, sorry, I put area, schedule, a little messy, edu for education, and then people question mark, like who do I want to be around? So I sat down and I really thought through, all right, you know, can't do you can't do every single occupation in every area of the country or world. You can't be a farmer probably unless you're an urban farmer in the middle of New York City. It's probably not going to work out very well. Or you're probably not going to have the best success being a defense lawyer in really, really rural Montana. You'd do a lot better in a big city. So first, I had to take into account, what kind of an area do I see myself living in? when I'm older, which I now am. So what kind of area was I picturing for myself? Well, I knew I wanted to live somewhere decently rural. I knew I didn't want to live in a large city. So I knew I kind of wanted to live specifically back in northern Minnesota. So, northern Minnesota, I knew I wanted that. So then I had to take into account and think, okay, like, what kind of schedule am I willing to have? Because I grew up and I knew some physicians, I had some family members that were in the medical practice, and I had some family members that were in other practices like real estate, and I got to see a few different kinds of schedules growing up and what those looked like. And I knew I was not interested in the work schedule of being a physician. You have to be honest with yourself. Even if you're smart enough and ambitious enough to be a doctor, if that's enough for you, by all means go for it. But say that you're like me and you're not willing to put in the immense hours of work that you need to put in every week as a physician, and being on call and working on weekends, working overnight shifts, sleeping at the hospital. That's all part of the game. So I knew that wasn't going to be an option for me. And when I really thought about it, I started to think of teacher schedules and some of my favorite hobbies. So some things that I value that I put into this equation was I value my summers. Some of my biggest hobbies all take place during the summer. So if I could have a job that allows me to have my summer time to do the hobbies I love most, that would be amazing for me. My hobbies are camping and gardening and traveling around and just doing whatever. So I knew that I didn't want to work in the summer. So I knew that I needed to basically work for a school district. I'm gonna put ISD for, I knew I needed to work for an independent school district. That just made sense for what I needed. So I'm gonna skip ahead here because I actually didn't really think about education right away. That kind of came later, but first I really thought about what kind of people do I want to work with? What kind of environment do I want to be in? And I really knew that I wouldn't be suited well for, like high-rise apartment building. I knew that I wouldn't be well suited for being something like a DNR officer, spending a lot of time by myself. I knew that I wanted to have colleagues and I wanted to have a really strong sense of community and coworkers around me. And so people, again, I realized, oh, something like a school, something with a lot of other people and a community in and of itself. So I'm just going to put yes for people. Yes, I wanted people around. Yes, I wanted that sense of community and that sense of belonging. That was valuable to me. And it might not be to you. You might want to work independently. So try to be honest with yourself and think of what you really do value, what fits you as a person. And so then I realized, okay, education. Well, to be a public school teacher in Minnesota, you need to at least have a 4-year degree. So I knew if I was going to work for a school district, I was more than likely going to need a 4-year degree unless I went a slightly different avenue for working for the school district. But I was thinking more like the educational side of it, or running things side, social worker side, thinking something like that. So I knew I was at least looking at a 4-year degree. But then when I really started boiling it down, I actually enjoyed studying psychology. So then I thought, oh, bingo. So school counseling was born as my prime career option. So I knew that I was going to be looking at 4 years and then plus a master's degree for this position. And say that you fill all this out and then you realize, like, oh my gosh, the amount of education required for some of these jobs I'm thinking of are, getting a doctorate, and then you can kind of scale it back. So maybe if I would have come to the conclusion of school psychologist instead, then I would have thought, ooh, maybe not. It's a little too much school for me. Let's bring it down a level. Okay, school counseling, that, or social worker. That's something more manageable. That's a little less school, something more palatable for me personally. So let's just take one other quick example, and let's say that you're someone that, for area, let's say that you want to live in city suburbs. All right, let's say you want to live kind of in the suburbs, kind of by the city. Schedule, let's say that you want to kind of do like contract work. You don't want a set schedule. And maybe let's even say that you kind of want to work more in the summers, more in the nice weather, and not work in the worst parts, the winter parts of the year. So I'm going to put a contract here. And then let's say for education, let's say that you're not really interested in attaining a 4-year degree, or maybe even not a 2-year degree. Let's say that you're the type where you'd rather learn firsthand from maybe someone you know or somebody that you get to know, and do something more like an apprenticeship, or maybe even do something more like a trade school, which can be as little as 1 year. So let's see, we're going to say 1 year, 1 year max. With a highlight on maybe the idea of an apprenticeship. And then people, let's say like, yeah, you want to work with people, but maybe eventually you want to try and be your own boss. Maybe you're thinking you want to kind of be businessy or something. Like, so we'll just say yes / no. So you want to do some collaborative work, but maybe you want a little more independence eventually. So what are some jobs you think, some careers that could work with a totally different ideals than what mine were? Well, right off the bat, I know what one of those ideals is because I have a friend who does it. They're a concrete worker. They love it. They work all summer long. They work all spring and all fall. Make a bunch of money, take the winters off. And a lot of them are also artists, for example, or do other side businesses like refurbishing furniture during the winters just to make a little more income. And they live in suburban areas, a lot of jobs around those areas. They do contract work. They can really make their own schedules eventually when they get higher up and they start their own concrete businesses. And 1 year max, maybe if you did trade school. Otherwise, you're likely to just do more of an apprenticeship and work under someone and eventually work your way up. So all I'm trying to show here is that there are options. At first, it might seem like, okay, how do I design something around my lifestyle? Say it just takes, being honest with yourself. So we could just take like one moment here, and if anybody wants to raise their hand and kind of give me some more examples of things that they could see being important on this board, other areas, other different kinds of schedules that might exist. All right, so thank you for the examples. I just wrote a few other ones of my own on the board. So, another area could be like living in a city, or for school, like, or for schedule. Let's say that you want to work from home. And education, maybe you're okay with getting as much education as necessary to achieve your goals. And maybe let's see people. No, you don't really want to work for other people, do that kind of stuff. What could your job be for that? It could be something like working in like IT, doing over the phone, through the computer, IT work. That's a very real option. Or doing something like animation work, video editing. All those things can be done remotely. Obviously, those are very specific niches, but just an idea to try to get you to really think about how many possibilities there are, and how there are so many different schedules than the ones that just pop into your head, and so many different options than just having to move to somewhere you don't want to live, and just a way to really think outside of the box. So right now we're going to take about 5 minutes. As you saw earlier, I left that worksheet on your desk called Thinking Backwards. So I wanted to basically do this exact exercise, but just try to apply it to yourself. Try to be honest with yourself and think about what you value and what you really could see working for you in all of those situations. So yes, please just take 5 minutes. Feel free to talk to the people next to you, bounce ideas around, and then we'll come back. All right, so now that you've kind of started to fill out those worksheets, you'll see that I put in there like what kind of schedule you want to have, and basically a lot of the same categories that I have on the board here. So would anybody like to share some of the ideas that they came up with? Okay, so I'm just gonna pretend. So maybe one of you just said that you came to the conclusion that maybe you would like to do something like work for the Parks Department because you kind of want to work in nature and you kind of want to work with other people, but you aren't sure. You're definitely okay with the idea of a 4-year degree, and you kind of like the idea of a city but some nature. So Parks Department is a fantastic idea that would definitely fit kind of what you're looking at. And yes, thank you. So now I just want to take a moment really quick and show you guys some helpful websites, and I'll put them on the board in a second so that you guys can find them later and write them on your worksheets for sure. And these sites are just one tool to kind of help you. I'm sure you've even done your own research online at this point, just to help you think once you maybe have some more ideas of maybe some degrees that you'd like to pursue, then the matter is, okay, where do I find the schools that offer this training that I'm wanting? How do I find those resources? So I'm just going to quickly screen share 2 of those resources with you all. Sorry, my computer just wasn't working there. All right. So here is one of the websites here. So you can see it says find the right college for you. So this is collegeboard.org. It's a great option. So first you could go ahead and you could go into this any way you want, whatever you value the most. Do you value what location? Do you value just seeing the specific majors right away? Do you want to look at the type, the campus life? You want a sorority, you want a quiet, maybe a really religious campus. You can choose all of these things that work with your ideals if college is something that you are looking for. And this website also includes 2-year degrees, not just the 4-year degrees. But let's say that that's not something you're interested in and you don't really think that you're the college type right now, and you can always go back later if you want to. I did. So here, this is a great website to explore some vocational and technical schools. So, oh, sorry. Oh dear. So this is, I'm sorry about that. This is a great option for finding some trade schools, vocational and technical schools. So this could be more like if you want to look into something like welding or woodworking or, all those other kinds of smaller specific niche practices. Maybe you want to get into being an electrician or installing air conditioning units. So many options. So you can put in your zip code, you can look at schools, sift through programs, locations, and explore really, even if you're just kind of curious and don't know what's out there. All right. So those were just 2 of the many wonderful options for things that you can continue to look at if you want to do some more searching on your own time, which I really recommend that you do explore. And I would also just like to remind you all that, say that you already know exactly you want to go into, that's absolutely fine. Say that you're already like, oh, but Miss Fowler, I already know what I want to do and I already know what I want to be, and I'm just going to build my life around that. That's fine. That's your one of your values. That's what you value. That's great. I just wanted to give an exercise quick today for a way to just think about it differently if some of you are feeling stuck in maybe this career searching process. And to conclude, I want to remind everyone that your counseling department is downstairs. And even if I'm not your counselor specifically, if you're in a different part of the alphabet, please feel free, make an appointment with your counselor, and we'll try to discuss future career options or different paths that maybe would work for you if, say, you're feeling a little stuck or a little overwhelmed in trying to navigate all of your options. And hopefully later we will have a career fair for everybody, so a lot of local organizations for people to meet with if maybe that is something you are interested in. And also, please do not forget to fill out the evaluation forms that I have left for you all. And on that note, I'll leave the last few minutes open for any questions, or if anybody else wants to share or is maybe stuck on their worksheet and doesn't know where to go with any of it, please feel free to ask me any questions. All right, thank you.